I am the lost heiress of the Smith family, and when I returned to the Smith family, I vowed that everything belonging to the Smith family would one day be mine. Finally, one day, I killed my father and drove my mother away. When Wilson came to the orphanage with a paternity test, I was burning paper for my good friend. 3 days ago, my best friend Mia passed away from illness. As I held her and cried, Wilson appeared. He said I might be her biological sister. The heiress of the Smith family group. I stared at him blankly, unable to say a word. He said he wasn't sure yet and wanted me to take a paternity test. Mia is gone, I want to accompany her. I'm not going anywhere. I cried and pushed him out of the room, holding Mia and crying for a long time. The teacher outside advised me for a long time, telling me to let go, that the dead cannot come back to life, and that the living must live well, so as to honor the deceased Mia. As I opened the door, I took out a strand of hair and handed it to Wilson, sobbing, I can't leave Mia, she will be scared, I need to stay with her. Wilson didn't say much more. He stroked my head and comforted me, don't be sad, everything will be alright. He took the hair and left. 3 days later, he excitedly told me that the paternity test results were out, and I was his long-lost sister. Hearing this news, I didn't feel happy. Lost for 10 years, why did they only find me now? In response to my questioning, Wilson explained, Mom and Dad thought you were dead, so they never looked for you. Then why are you looking for me now? He lowered his head in guilt, not daring to look at me, and recalled, the survivor of that car accident lay in a hospital bed for 10 years. Recently, he woke up and told Mom and Dad that you were not dead, that someone saved you. After we learned this, we searched everywhere for you, and thankfully, we finally found you. Teresa, the 10 years we owe you. We will make it up to you, please don't blame us, okay? He pleaded with a sincere tone for my forgiveness. I looked up at him and smiled, don't worry, brother, I won't blame you and Mom and Dad, it's not your fault. He let out a sigh of relief, holding me in his arms and stroking my head. Teresa, you're so good. The car stopped outside a large villa, and I hesitated to get out, afraid that my shabby appearance would be laughed at. Wilson reached out his hand and smiled gently at me. Don't be afraid, just follow your brother. Looking at his warm smile, my tension and unease instantly eased a lot. As I entered the villa with him, I curiously looked around this place that resembled a manor, my mouth agape in surprise. Wilson said, from now on, this will be your home. I looked up at him and excitedly asked, will everything here be mine? He ruffled my hair. Yes, it's all Teresa's. You can do whatever you want. Standing outside a house that looked like a palace, I stopped in my tracks. A middle-aged couple stood at the door, tears in their eyes as they ran towards me when they saw me. The woman grabbed my arm, stared at me for a long time, then hugged me tightly and cried, Daughter, I'm sorry. Her gaze was mixed with insincerity. I tensed up, filled with curiosity and caution towards this unfamiliar woman. Wilson said, she is your mother. I looked at the elegant woman, but the word, mother, just wouldn't come out. The woman smiled awkwardly. It's okay, the child just needs time to adjust, she'll call you that eventually. The man was calm and reserved, not as emotional as the woman. He held my hand and nodded happily. It's good that you're back. The woman took me around to introduce people, and when she got to a girl about 15 or 16, she suddenly became awkward, glancing at the man, who also turned away and refused to speak. Wilson walked up to me and said, her name is Rachel. And she is also your dad and mom's daughter. Looking at her age, which is about the same as mine, I remember I don't have a twin, so where did she come from? I frowned slightly, feeling a bit angry. The woman explained, at first, we thought you had an accident, so we adopted this child. Oh, so you treated her as me, right? Rachel, even the name that originally belonged to me was given to her. They looked awkward, yet showed no signs of guilt. The girl took my hand and smiled at me, saying, Sister, from now on this will be your home. Mom and Dad are still your mom and dad. I'm just an adopted daughter and won't compete with you for anything. I looked up at her. She was very beautiful, and her every gesture exuded the grace of a wealthy young lady, truly a daughter raised by a prestigious family. Then can you give my name back to me? Upon hearing my words, her expression froze, and even her smile turned ugly. She cast Wilson a pleading look. Wilson then said to me, Teresa is just a name. Rachel has been using it for 10 years, just give it to her. Wilson's obvious favoritism made me very disappointed. It seemed that in his heart, This sister who had lived with him for 10 years was more important than me. Even my biological parents advised me to let Rachel have the name. Although I was reluctant deep down, I pretended to be happy on the surface. Okay, I'll give it to her. Thank you, sister, Rachel said, holding my hand, her eyes full of gratitude. Wilson said he would register my household registration, and the whole family sat together to discuss my name. Seeing their enthusiastic expressions, I felt very hypocritical. Wilson and Rachel, it sounds like a name full of sunshine and warmth, but after thinking about it, they wanted to name me Return, meaning lost and found, returning home again. Do you guys even listen? Is this a good name? I said coldly. What should we call her then? Rachel asked. Looking at Wilson with a worried expression, I interrupted their discussion. No need to think about it, just call me Teresa. This is the name Mia gave me. Rachel let me stay in her room and gave me her clothes to wear. Looking at her warmly welcoming me, I felt quite sad. Clearly, I am the daughter of the Smith family, yet now I feel like a guest. Sister, we're about the same height. You can wear my dresses. Come on, try this one. She took out a blue princess dress and pulled me in front of the mirror to compare. Sister, this one really suits you. I looked haggard, my complexion was pale, and I was so thin that the princess dress looked completely out of place on me. No thanks, I don't like wearing other people's clothes. She thought I was being polite and completely ignored my words, grabbing a few more outfits for me to try on. No thanks, I don't wear dresses. Sister, there's no need to be polite. What's mine is yours, so don't be so reserved. I pushed the clothes aside and said, really, you don't have to. She insisted that I try it on, and I pushed her away in annoyance. Who knew she was so fragile that she fell and hit her head on the table, causing a cut on her forehead. Wilson ran in upon hearing the crying, and seeing her in such a state, he looked at me angrily. Teresa, what are you doing? I didn't explain. It was indeed me who pushed her. He helped Rachel up and carried her outside. The doctor gave her a simple bandage. It wasn't serious. In the living room, my parents were worriedly asking Rachel, and after comforting her for a while, they began to talk about me. Teresa, don't think too much. Rachel didn't mean anything by it. She's just a simple child. She was worried you would feel uncomfortable, so she wanted to take care of you. After my mom finished speaking, my dad added, initially, we wanted to adopt Rachel. If you're upset, take it out on us. Don't bully Rachel. She's innocent too. I shrugged and said nonchalantly, since you see me this way, I have nothing to say. Rachel's room is off limits to me. Just find me any other room. Sister, I'm sorry. I didn't consider your feelings. She lowered her head in guilt and shed tears in grievance. I smiled and said, you don't need to consider my feelings. My heart is tough, and no one can hurt me. Teresa, Wilson looked at me, her expression complicated, as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. In this situation, I felt very out of place, so I got up to leave. Before I left, I turned back to Wilson and smiled slightly. Bro, could you help me sort out my school situation? I'm just sitting at home all day. And I might cause some trouble again. Okay, he nodded helplessly. Wilson is very good at making arrangements. He arranged for me to be in Rachel's class. On the first day of school, Rachel immediately told everyone that I was the true heiress brought back from the orphanage. Her pure kindness moved everyone, and she didn't hide her identity as a fake heiress. She calmly introduced me to everyone. This is my sister, named Teresa. I felt out of place in this elite school. My poor English and terrible grades in math and science became topics of discussion among others. Everyone was filled with doubt about me, the real heiress. During the special class, I sat in the back corner of the classroom, dozing off against the wall. When Rachel's piano piece ended, I mumbled something in my sleep, causing the whole class to burst into laughter. When it was my turn to showcase my talent, I remained indifferent. Rachel explained for me, my sister lived in an orphanage before. Hasn't learned any instruments, and is still getting used to being here. Please understand, teacher. The boy next to me covered his mouth and laughed, saying, your sister is really something. The whole school knows you were brought back from the orphanage. I don't know when it started, but I, the real heiress brought back from the orphanage, became known as just a child adopted from the orphanage, as the rumor spread. People at school began to think I was the child adopted from the orphanage by the Smith family, adopted, yet so rude, always wearing that ugly face. For whom, exactly? Rachel hasn't looked down on her, yet she still acts so high and mighty. The two girls in front were whispering, and I heard every word. I sometimes really can't help but doubt, Rachel is really low in emotional intelligence. Or is she intentionally trying to make me uncomfortable? After school, Wilson came to pick us up. On the way home, Rachel asked me, "Sister, I heard from your parents that you went missing when you were 5. A 5-year-old child should already have memory and the ability to express, so why didn't you look for your parents?" I wasn't in a good mood to begin with, and she came to add to my troubles. I immediately turned cold. Wilson took a look at me through the rearview mirror, then scolded, "Rachel, shut up." Rachel started crying, looking wronged, and pouted her lips. "I'm sorry, brother, I didn't know you would be angry." I know, Rachel, this sentence wasn't what she wanted to ask, but rather what my biological parents told her to ask. They didn't dare to ask me directly, so they had to let the innocent and naive Rachel come. From Wilson's glance at me, I knew that he actually wanted to know too. Remembering the painful experiences of the past, my eyes turned red, and I sorrowfully said, "I was injured in that car accident and can't remember anything." When my brother found me, I only then recalled things from my childhood. Wilson asked, "Teresa, do you still remember how that car accident happened?" I shook my head. "I don't remember." Then I asked him back, "Brother, why did Mom and Dad think I was dead? Where were they when the accident happened?" Mom said she had a stomach ache at the time. It was very dark, and they were in the mountains. Dad went with her to find a place to relieve herself. After that, they heard an explosion. And when they returned, the accident had already happened, because there was a girl among the deceased who was the same age as you, burned beyond recognition. Mom and Dad thought it was you. Didn't they do a DNA test? I asked curiously. Mom and Dad said there was only one child in the car at the time, so they concluded that child was you, and therefore didn't do any tests. Rachel asked curiously, "Since my sister is alive, then who was the child that was burned to death?" He shook his head. "I don't know, it was an accident, and my parents said that child was theirs, so the police didn't investigate further." The child's body was cremated that same day. The truck driver who caused the accident was found at the entrance of a village. He was severely injured and has been in bed without waking up. Recently, he woke up but was confused, forgetting how the accident happened. He mentioned that he seemed to have saved a child, then said it was too, rambling on. "I came looking for you with a glimmer of hope, and to my surprise, I really found you. How strange. How could there be an extra child?" Rachel looked at me in confusion. I let out a cold laugh. "What, do you suspect I'm an imposter?" "No, no, please don't be angry, sister," Wilson interjected. "Teresa remembers some things from her childhood, and there's also a paternity test. How could she possibly be an imposter?" "Rachel, from now on, you're not allowed to speak to your sister like that." "Got it, brother, I was wrong. My parents heard that I had a head injury and forgot about the accident, so they came to ask if I felt unwell. They were worried I might have lingering effects, so they brought a doctor to examine me. The doctor said my head was fine, and it seemed that the accident left me with psychological trauma, which is why I selectively forgot." "Teresa, do you really not remember?" My mom asked me repeatedly. I thought carefully for a moment and then shook my head. "I can't remember." She glanced at me and smiled, half believing, half doubting. "It's okay. If I forget, then I forget. No matter how well they treat me, I always feel that their love for me is different from that for Wilson and Rachel." "That's true. After all, they have only raised me for 5 years, while Rachel has been with them for 10 years. Rachel is gentle and kind, and everyone in the family likes her, and I feel so out of place. Whenever I appear, their smiles always come to an abrupt halt, followed by awkward glances." Wilson said it's because everyone is afraid of saying the wrong thing and hurting my self-esteem, so they act so reserved in front of me. I sat by the window, watching the sunset, and comforted myself with a smile. "Yeah, my parents are keeping their distance to protect my self-esteem. Teresa, if you have something on your mind, you can tell your brother." Wilson walked over, placing his hand on my shoulder, looking at me with concern. I smiled and shook my head. "What could I possibly have on my mind? You're overthinking it." He sighed and turned to leave the room. After Wilson left, I glanced at the pinhole camera on the wall, holding back my feelings. After graduating from junior high, I couldn't get into a key high school like Rachel did, and instead went to the farthest middle school from home. On the first day of school, only Wilson came to see me off. Rachel was accepted into a key high school, and everyone in the family was happy for her. My parents felt very proud. Today is also her 16th birthday, and the family is busy preparing a birthday party for her, so no one is willing to take me to school. On the way, I leaned against the car and dozed off. Wilson talked a lot, but I didn't pay attention. After the car stopped, he looked at me helplessly, then patted my head and reminded me like a caring father, "Be good at school, get along well with your classmates, call me if you need anything, and I'll come pick you up on the weekend." I nodded perfunctorily and said, "Got it." The school is far from home, taking an hour by car, so for the sake of convenience, I have to stay in the dorm. After Wilson left, I happily started humming a song. Finally leaving that place filled with eyes, the feeling of being watched everywhere was really unpleasant. "Who are you?" A text message from an unknown number left me puzzled. "Who are you again?" I replied with the same question. There was no response from the other side, and I thought it was just a prank or a wrong number. But the next day, a second message came through, "You are not Rachel." Seeing this definitive statement made me anxious. After staring at my phone for a moment to calm down, I dialed the number, and to my surprise, the other party actually answered. A rough, mechanical male voice came through the phone, likely using a voice changer. "You are not Rachel," he said with absolute certainty. "Who are you?" I asked. He kept repeating that phrase. "You are not Rachel." I scoffed. "Of course I'm not Rachel. My name is Teresa. Your prank can end now." A strange laugh came from the other side. "Don't give me that. You know what I'm talking about. You are not the daughter of the Smith family." His certainty that I am not Rachel indicates that he knows the real Rachel very well. I probed. "The paternity test is right there. On what basis do you say I'm not? The hair that Wilson took for testing may not even be yours. The real Rachel has had mental illness since childhood. She doesn't speak, essentially a mute. You are definitely not her." After successfully getting the evidence that he suspected me, I hung up the phone decisively. He thought I was guilty, so he sent me a threatening text message. "I guess I hit the mark. You're not really Rachel. I warn you, if you continue to deceive Smith family people, I will expose your identity fraud." After blocking this phone number, I began to think about who this person could be. He knows what the real Rachel is like, and he also knows the details about Wilson taking a paternity test, which means this person must be someone close to Wilson. Smith family couple, Wilson. Rachel, who is it really? From the behavior of the Smith family couple, it is clear that they don't really believe I am their daughter. The hidden camera in the room, the nanny who always follows me, and Rachel subtly testing me, all show that they don't trust me. If they weren't guilty, why would they be afraid of me? But right now, I don't have the power to stand up against the entire Smith family. That mysterious person is in the dark, while I am in the open. I don't know what evidence he has in his possession. Before I have absolute certainty, I can't afford to clash with them. Wilson often calls me and tells me to go home and visit, but I always make various excuses to avoid going back. I didn't expect him to come to the school. When I saw him, I turned away and walked off, but he caught up with me and grabbed my arm. "Teresa, why are you running?" I pulled my hand away and spoke harshly. "I won't go back with you, I know. I didn't come here for that." His tone carried a bit of helplessness. "Really?" I looked at him doubtfully. "When have I ever lied to you?" He looked at me seriously. My tense body relaxed, and I smiled at him. "You never lied to me." He poked my forehead. "You little brat." Still smiling, Wilson came to find me to introduce a tutor. This surprised me. I had only casually complained on the phone that the teacher wasn't teaching well, and I couldn't understand many things. I didn't expect he would remember it and even find me a tutor. He took me to a restaurant near the school, where a boy was sitting in a private room. When we entered, the boy stood up and looked me over, then smiled, saying, "Bro, you guys are here." The boy is a student at a university near my high school, currently in his second year. Wilson said he is a top student and studies very well. "Hello, little sister. My name is Sunny." I nodded. "Hello, my name is Teresa." Sunny is Wilson's friend's younger brother, and they seem to know each other well. At the dinner table, the two of them chatted happily, and the topic gradually shifted to Sunny's brother Sam, and as soon as his name came up, Wilson looked pained. After dinner, Wilson took me to the apartment he rented for me. "Why rent an apartment? You said your roommate was hard to get along with, and you've always been introverted, not liking to talk to people. I'm worried you'll be bullied. Besides, Sunny will be able to help you with your homework. He also lives in that apartment building, and your neighbors." I looked at him, a sense of doubt arose in my heart. Wilson, could he be that mysterious person who sent me messages? I asked hesitantly. Brother, I've always been introverted and depressed, and I didn't like talking to people. Why are you not curious about why I've changed now? He stopped walking, turned around to look at me, his eyes full of compassion and concern. Before I could react, he suddenly embraced me, stroked my head, and said gently, Teresa, no matter what you've become, you are still my sister. The past is all behind us. You're doing well now. Don't think too much. I will take care of you from now on. Why, my parents even doubt that I'm not the real one. Why do you believe me? I was stunned in his arms, but my eyes couldn't help but well up. I don't know. Maybe it's because of our blood bond as siblings. I can feel it. You are my sister. What if I'm not? Would you still be this kind to me? With Sunny's tutoring, my grades finally improved. After the exam results were announced, I immediately called Wilson and excitedly told him, Bro, I made it into the top 100 of the grade. He happily replied, Teresa, that's awesome. I'll come see you this weekend and treat Sunny to a meal to thank him. Okay. When I got back to the apartment after school, I ran into Sunny, who had just returned as well. Mr. Sunny, what a coincidence. I greeted him with a smile. He stared at me in surprise for a while, then laughed. Teresa, I can't believe my eyes. You're actually smiling. I awkwardly looked away and walked towards the elevator. He hurriedly followed and asked me, How did you do? I made it into the top 100 of the grade. Looks like I have a very excellent student, he boasted proudly. My brother said he would treat you to dinner this weekend. Sure. As the elevator doors opened, I hurriedly looked down and stepped out without saying another word to him. Teresa, he suddenly called out to me. I paused and turned to ask him, What's wrong? Girls shouldn't be so aloof. Smiling more will make you prettier. Oh, I nodded, pulling the corners of my mouth into a smile. Is this okay? He chuckled awkwardly. Hee, you look better when you're aloof. This weekend, Wilson came to pick up me and Sunny. I opened the door with great anticipation, but the person I saw was not Wilson, but Rachel. Rachel, what brings you here? I opened the door to welcome her in. She smiled happily. Sister, it's been over a year. Don't you miss me? As she spoke, she took my hand and gently shook it. I pulled my hand away, smiled slightly, and said, Of course I miss you. How could I not? Then why don't you come home? I have a heavy study load. No time. She pressed on. Not even during the new year. I have to attend extra classes during the new year. You know I'm not very bright and learn slowly. She looked around the room and complained. It's so small. Why didn't brother get you a bigger room? Did you come to see me for something? I asked. She sat on the sofa and smiled sweetly at me. I got the first place in the midterm exam, and brother said he would reward me with a big meal. Since sister also did well, we just decided to have a meal together. My heart suddenly sank. I realized this meal wasn't for me. On the way to the restaurant, Rachel and Sunny quickly became familiar with each other, chatting happily, and the atmosphere in the car was very lively. I sat in the front passenger seat in silence all the way. Wilson kept glancing at me while driving. I felt uncomfortable. So I asked, Bro, if you have something to say, just say it. Teresa, are you not happy? No. Then why aren't you talking? I paused for a moment, furrowed my brow, and said coldly, Bro, pay attention to driving, don't be distracted. During dinner, Wilson sat next to me and kept taking care of me. Rachel pouted and said, Brother, I'm your sister too. Why do you only take care of her and not me? Wilson smiled and said, When you're at home, I can take care of you every day. There's Say's out there, and we only see each other occasionally, so of course, I have to take good care of her. Humph, brother, you're biased. As soon as I finished speaking, I stood up and said, You all eat first. I'm going to the restroom. Teresa, Wilson stood up and grabbed my arm. What's wrong? You, don't be angry, he said to me cautiously. I smiled. Don't worry, I'm not that petty. Arriving at the restroom stall, I opened my phone and saw a message from the mysterious person. Just now when Rachel was throwing a tantrum, my phone vibrated. I glanced at it. It was a message from that mysterious number. Leave the Smith family or I will expose your true identity. After I blocked this number last time, I got a new phone number, and only Wilson knows. However, it's also possible that he told someone else. The mysterious person sends me threatening messages every day, but he has never taken action, which indicates that the evidence he has is not enough to reveal my identity. He has been testing me. Sunny has a wide network, so I asked him to help me check the owner of that number. He asked curiously, "What do you want to check this for?" "It's nothing, just help me check it," he said seriously. "This is someone else's privacy. If you don't tell me what you want to do, I won't help you." I lied to him, saying, "I might have leaked my personal information on some websites. And the owner of this number sends me some explicit things to harass me every day. Why don't you call the police?" He looked at me with concern. I glanced at him awkwardly and then lowered my head in shame. "If I report this, it will blow up, and my classmates will find out that I've been visiting some inappropriate websites. I'm still a minor, and this kind of thing." He immediately understood the rest of my words. Okay, I get it, you don't have to say more." When I looked up, I was surprised to see his face was also flushed. He may seem unreliable most of the time, but when it comes to getting things done, he is quite decisive. Within a few days, he helped me trace the source of the number. The owner of the number is a man, and he works as a bartender. From his social network, he has no connection with the Smith family, so he shouldn't be the one sending me messages. At the entrance of the bar, Sonny suddenly appeared, blocking my way and scolding me. "A minor like you shouldn't be going into a bar. Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble? I have to find this person, otherwise, he will keep harassing me in the future. The bar has a rule that minors are not allowed in, and I wouldn't dare go in alone." I hung around the entrance for a long time, just to wait for Sonny. Before leaving, I intentionally said in front of him that I wanted to get an explanation from that person, but I didn't explicitly say I was going to the bar. When I left the apartment, I saw him following me. I insisted on going in, so he had no choice but to let me follow him and handle it for me. After finding the man, we took him to a private room, where the man stood politely on one side. Sonny was sitting angrily, and explained many things to him. Finally, he asked, "Do you know you're wrong?" The man looked upset and almost cried. I did what, sir?" Sonny pointed at me. "Why were you harassing that girl?" The man looked at me with a look of innocence. "I don't know her. What harassment are you talking about?" I walked up to the man and held my phone in front of his face, asking, "Is this your number?" The man nodded. "It's mine, but I sold it a year ago." "A year ago?" "It was just when the mysterious person started to harass me." "Who did you sell it to?" The man shook his head. "I can't remember." Sonny moved her wrist, walked over to the man, patted his shoulder, and smiled. "Think hard." The man was almost in tears from fear. After thinking for a while, he finally had a clue. It was a woman, quite sexy. "About how old was she?" I asked. "In her teens or early 20s, anyway, quite young." I moved Sonny, then took out Rachel's photo to show the man. "Is it her?" The man looked at it, shook his head, not sure. The bar was dark at the time. I just remember she was dressed very sexy, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. I thought it was strange to wear sunglasses at night. In the photo, Rachel is wearing a princess dress, full of youth, which indeed doesn't match the man's description. It's normal for him not to recognize her. According to the man's description, the woman is probably around 1 meter 60, which rules out Mrs. Smith. She is about 1 meter 70. Slightly taller than the man in front of her, excluding others. Only Rachel remains. Behind her pure and cute appearance, there is indeed a hidden face that few know about. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith couldn't possibly have raised a daughter who is simple and kind-hearted. Sonny is leaning against the wall in the corridor, chatting with a girl. From the girl's expression, it's clear that she is interested in Sonny. She really looks like a peacock, wanting to show off to everyone she meets. I walked over and patted him on the shoulder. "Teacher Sonny, I'm leaving. If you want to play, you can keep playing for a while." He hurriedly grabbed my arm and said to the girl, "Beautiful lady, contact me when you have time. I need to take my sister home." The girl shouted from behind, "Handsome, you haven't given me your WeChat yet. How can we stay in touch?" He waved his hand. "If it's meant to be, we'll meet again." On the way back to the apartment, he remained silent until we reached the elevator. Then he asked me, "You're lying to me, right? You're not looking for that person just because he harassed you on some website." He suddenly became serious, and I felt a strong sense of pressure. I had no reason to hide it from him anymore. I nodded. "Yes, I lied to you. Teresa, what secret are you hiding?" I turned to him and smiled. "There's no secret, you're overthinking it." The elevator doors opened just in time to interrupt what he was saying. I stepped out, turned to him, and sincerely said, "Thank you for helping me today." He shrugged. "You've already called me teacher. I can't just ignore you." Before I knew it, I was in my senior year of high school, and I turned 18, the school held a coming-of-age ceremony, and parents were invited to attend. It was a coincidence. Rachel is also 18, and her school is also holding a coming-of-age ceremony. The city's best high school, any event they hold will attract attention. By comparison, the high school I attend is much more modest. Both daughters are having their coming-of-age ceremonies on the same day, and of course the parents went to the daughter they are proud of. Wilson also went as a representative of the company. I, on the other hand, was quite lonely, without any parents. As I was about to step through the coming-of-age gate, someone I didn't expect appeared, and a warm hand took mine. I looked up and it was Sunny. One day as a teacher, lifelong as a father, I can be your elder, and I'll walk through the coming-of-age gate with you. He was wearing a well-tailored black suit, with a hairstyle that didn't match his age, a side part, although it was a bit outdated. His face carried the look, and he actually looked quite handsome. It's not true that I wasn't moved. Stubborn as I am, my eyes were moist at that moment. In the auditorium, students are giving gifts to their parents. I originally planned to give Wilson a sunflower, but I had to give it to Sunny. He looked in surprise at the 100 paper-folded sunflowers, momentarily speechless. Sunny exclaimed, "For me?" "Yeah," he sniffed. "It smells so good." He gently held the flowers, his eyes filled with light. "I've grown up this much and it's the first time I've received flowers from a girl, especially handmade ones. It's very precious. You came to my coming-of-age ceremony and helped me out. So consider this a thank you gift, a small favor in exchange for such a precious gift. This trip was worth it." I gave him flowers, and he also gave me a gift. It was a fountain pen. A note was wrapped around the pen, which read, "Teresa, I've been helping you study for more than 2 years for free. If you don't get good grades in the college entrance exam, you'll really be letting me down. I of course will get good grades. If I don't get into a good university, how could I have a chance to work at Smith Family Group?" At the end of the coming-of-age ceremony, Wilson arrived. He must have come in a hurry. His forehead was sweaty and he hadn't rested at all. Sunny took my flower to show off to him. "Bro, look, this is a sunflower made by Teresa for me." ID. Wilson looked at me with guilt. "Teresa, I'm sorry, I'm late." I smiled understandingly at him. "It's okay, I understand." He took out a gift box. Inside was a necklace. I didn't know much about it, and when I looked at the necklace, I wasn't very happy. Sunny exclaimed, "Teresa, your brother is too good to you. This necklace is a limited edition worldwide. There are only 2 in existence. My sister-in-law wanted it, but my brother didn't buy it for her. I didn't expect your brother would buy it for you." I am good at picking out the key points. Limited edition worldwide, only 2 in existence. If I'm not mistaken, the other one should also be bought by Wilson and given to Rachel. "Thank you, brother. I appreciate the thought, but I can't accept the gift. The school has rules against students wearing jewelry." Wilson lowered his hands in disappointment. "Teresa, I'm sorry. Am I a failure as a brother for not even knowing what you like?" "Brother, don't overthink it. After all, we haven't spent much time together, so it's normal that you don't know me well." After saying this, he felt even more dejected. Sunny quickly came to the rescue and pulled us to take photos. In the photo, I looked coldly at the camera, while Wilson was looking at me. Wilson lived abroad when he was young. It said he only returned home at 15, and that year, when he turned 15, was exactly when I had my accident and went missing. If you count it, I've really only spent a little over 3 years with him. I didn't go home during my 3 years of high school, so we were never that close. After the college entrance examination, my score was over 50 points higher than the provincial mock exam, and I successfully got into the school where Sunny is, becoming alumni with Sunny. Unfortunately, he has already graduated from college and gone abroad. Rachel, after repeating a year, she scored 680 on the college entrance exam and successfully got into the university she liked. When I returned to the Smith family again, I had completely transformed. It's really funny that when Wilson led me in, the Smith couple seemed completely confused and asked me who I was. Their biological daughter didn't recognize me after just 3 years of not seeing each other. If they really adopted Rachel because they missed me so much, then what does their 3 years of silence towards me mean? Upon learning that I was Teresa, they exchanged glances, their expressions strange. A person with a guilty conscience sees everyone as a ghost. That's exactly how they are. The summer vacation is long, so I asked Wilson to take me to the company to familiarize myself with business management, preparing for future work. He gladly agreed. allowing me to be his secretary's assistant and learn from the secretary. In the span of 2 months, I roughly grasped the basic situation within the Smith family. During college, I minored in accounting, although I slept less than 6 hours a day. Just thinking about Maya made it all worthwhile. After graduating in my senior year, Rachel went abroad for further studies. I gave up the opportunity to pursue a master's degree and planned to join the Smith family group. However, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith flatly refused, saying I lacked experience and had just graduated, making me unsuitable for the Smith family. It was only after Wilson strongly urged them that they reluctantly agreed. Mrs. Smith, who rarely visited the company, came to inspect every day after I joined. She came to see me under the pretext of visiting her daughter, but instead dragged me around, not letting me work. I complained a bit in front of Wilson. Since Mom doesn't want me here, I might as well leave. After all, you never treated me like family. That night, Wilson went to talk to Mrs. Smith about this matter, and they ended up arguing. From then on, Mrs. Smith stopped coming to see me, but strangely, the mysterious person who had not troubled me for a long time started texting me again. She sent me a lot of documents, which were Rachel's psychiatric evaluation reports, as well as the horrifying incidents that had occurred at the orphanage. Congenital autism, accompanied by violent tendencies of self-abuse and harming others, has a very low chance of being cured. You were in a welfare center where a caretaker had been exposed for abusing children. In such an environment, it's hard for a child to recover from a congenital mental illness. If you keep using Wilson, I will tear off your fake mask. I warn you, stay away from Wilson. Looking at those documents and the threatening words, I laughed mockingly. I finally realized they really didn't care about their daughter with the illness. These embarrassing medical records had become a tool for them to threaten me. The other person became furious, but exposed their own mistake. Only Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith know about those reports. They used to feel ashamed because of their daughter Rachel, who suffered from mental illness, so they kept her locked at home, with a nanny watching her 24 hours a day, not allowing her to see anyone. Her existence was their shame, so they hid those reports to prevent the outside world from knowing they had such a daughter. Rachel is abroad, which means the ones threatening me with this number are the Smiths couple. Perhaps Rachel was used as a pawn by that couple. Wilson had a fight with Mrs. Smith for my sake, defying their wishes, so they turned their hostility towards me. Mr. Smith and his wife are targeting me because they fear I will reveal the truth about the accident from years ago. As for Rachel, she must be afraid of losing her position as the lady of the house, and even more afraid that Wilson won't love her, which is why she chose to aid the oppressors. Rachel has a twisted and perverse affection for Wilson, but Wilson is too upright to see the possessiveness and admiration that his non-blood-related sister has for him. No matter how they threaten me, I remain unshaken. Whether I am the real Rachel, Smith family couple would not come forward to expose me. What they did back then was just for fame and status. Now they would not risk losing everything, even going to jail, to expose me. Rachel was just a pawn controlled by that couple. Not worth mentioning at all, but I not only want to reveal the truth from the past, but also seek justice for the deceased Mia and the missing Rachel. They can threaten me, so why can't I fight back? The Smith family group has been lying low for 3 years. It's time to act. The Smith family group was once just a small company, founded by Mrs. Smith, mainly engaged in the business of selling cosmetics. At that time, Mr. Smith was just a cosmetics research engineer at a now-defunct Moon Group. After that car accident, the Smith family business suddenly rose to prominence, becoming a listed company overnight, firmly establishing itself domestically with the most cutting-edge research and development technologies and patents. Once internationally renowned Moon Group, due to the toxic face mask scandal, collapsed, and the founder committed suicide due to heavy debts. Looking at the news reports online, a surge of hatred welled up in my heart. The intense emotional fluctuations made me feel very panicked. My heart was racing, my head started to throb, and my mind felt like it was about to explode. In a daze, I seemed to see her. She was crouched in the darkness, hugging her head, whimpering in fear. "Don't be afraid. I won't let you face this cruel world." I spoke to comfort her. After hearing my voice, her body, which had been shaking violently from fear, slowly relaxed. She raised her head to look at me, smiled, and said she believed I would protect her. Teresa, what's wrong?" I was awakened by a hurried and worried voice, and in that moment I opened my eyes. my restless heart calmed down. Wilson held my face, looking at me with concern. I pushed his hand away and said lightly, "I'm fine, just had a nightmare. Are you really okay?" He gently touched my head with concern. I smiled. "Yeah, I'm fine." He took out a document and placed it on the table. "I've looked at the cooperation agreement. The strategy you proposed this time is great. The market competition is fierce, and new products are emerging one after another. Our brand development is no longer sufficient to meet market demands. The Ford family is just interested in collaborating, so I'll leave this project to you." I looked at him excitedly. "Really?" He smiled with relief. "Of course it's true. You've worked so hard for this project. I trust you to handle it." Although Wilson is currently running the company, the actual power is still in Mr. Smith's hands, and this cooperation proposal still needs his signature and seal. But if he found out it was my idea, he definitely wouldn't agree. Before the meeting in the afternoon, I went directly to Mr. Smith with another document. As expected, when he heard it was my work, he didn't even look at it and refused. I explained to him for a long time, told him my ideas, and he showed an impatient expression, finally getting angry. "Dad, what are you afraid of?" He became extremely angry and stood up. "Teresa, this is a company, mind your attitude when you speak." I smiled provocatively. "How come? Are you afraid I'll steal the company's technology and give it to another company?" This sentence hit his sensitive spot, and he immediately glared at me, slapping me in the face. My lips bled, showing how hard he had hit me. "Dad, you actually hit me." I started to cry and fuss. He threatened me. "I warn you, stay in line. If I find out you do anything that harms the company, don't blame me for being rude." I lowered my head in grievance and cried, "I understand, Dad." After leaving his office, I threw the document into the trash can. In the restroom, I looked at the swollen side of my face and felt very satisfied. With my swollen face, I took the revised detailed plan to find Wilson. He frowned immediately when he saw me. "Teresa, what happened to your face?" "It's nothing," I said, my eyes welling up. He worriedly got up from his seat, walked over to me, gently held my face and looked at it, then angrily said, "Teresa, who hit you?" I lowered my head and cried, "It's not Dad's fault, it's all my fault." I knew he didn't like me, but I still went to find him. I just wanted to tell him that I could also do well in the company. I could help my brother manage the company. But he hit me and said I had ulterior motives. Wilson held me in his arms, stroked my head, and comforted me, saying, "Teresa, I'm sorry. I really can't take it anymore. I don't know what's wrong with Mom and Dad. They weren't like this before. I'm sorry, truly sorry. It's my brother's fault. If I could have come back home sooner, you wouldn't have gone missing." I wrapped my arms around his waist, leaned on his shoulder, and cried, "It's okay. I don't blame Mom and Dad. Teresa is really good." Setting the mood, I got to the point. "Bro, during the meeting this afternoon, can you not mention that the idea for this collaboration with the Ford family and this proposal were done by me? I'm afraid Dad won't agree. You saw it too. No matter what I do, Dad will veto it. This collaboration is very important. Our company is at a bottleneck. If this collaboration succeeds, it will be a new turning point. But this idea is really good, and the plan is perfect. If Dad knew it was you who did it, he would change his mind about you." As I expected, Wilson always thinks everything through. He wants me to be recognized by our parents, but he doesn't know that they will never believe in me. This act of self-sacrifice is really necessary. I covered my face and cried even harder, saying excitedly, "You saw it too." Getting Dad to change his mind about me is not something that can happen overnight. If I lose this opportunity for collaboration because of me, I will leave the company out of guilt. He hurriedly comforted me. Okay, Teresa, don't get too worked up. I promise you, I'll say it was my idea. This way, it will be easier for you to handle this project." "Okay, thank you, bro." This project's surface leader is Wilson, and it's really convenient for me to manipulate things from behind him. Wilson trusts me a lot. Once the project is set, I have full responsibility. Every time I ask him to sign, he does so without hesitation. Watching him confidently write his name, I curiously asked, "Bro, aren't you going to take a look?" "No need to look. I trust you to get the job done." After taking the document, my nervous heart finally settled. This document is enough to put the Smith family in crisis. "Wilson, I'm sorry. I'm just returning the favor in kind. With your outstanding abilities, even without the Smith family, you can make a comeback." After completing all the procedures, It's time to meet the leader of the Ford family, Sonny's brother Sam, the president of the Ford family group, is decisive and ruthless. The Ford family owes its current status to him. It's hard to imagine someone like him having a friend like Wilson. Sonny once told me that his brother admired Wilson and had always wanted to recruit him to the Ford family group. But Wilson felt his brother's methods were too extreme and not above board, so he refused, no matter how underhanded the methods are. They can't compare to Mr. Smith and his wife's insidiousness. While tutoring me, Sonny shared a lot about his brother and Wilson, which helped me understand Sam's character. If I didn't have complete confidence, I wouldn't dare to choose him as a partner. In the office, Sam was flipping through the contract, a slight smile on his lips, then looked at me with a playful glint in his eyes. "Miss Teresa, aren't you going to explain?" I chuckled softly. Is it hard to understand, as sharp as he is? There's no way he wouldn't see the loopholes in the contract. What he doesn't understand is why I'm doing this. He looked at me curiously, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Miss Teresa, I'm really curious. Why would you betray the Smith family? That's the foundation your parents worked hard for their whole lives. If this contract is signed, the Smith family will truly be finished." "Sam, you are a smart man. You should be able to see that this cooperation is beneficial to you without any harm. If the Smith family is finished, your family will dominate. Won't that be good?" I paused. "Besides, if the Smith family is done for, won't you have an excuse to bring Wilson over?" Upon hearing Wilson's name, his eyes instantly lit up. I really didn't expect that Wilson's temptation was greater than the entire Smith family. He stood up and reached out to me. "Miss Teresa, it's a pleasure to cooperate." "It's a pleasure to cooperate." Before leaving, he said, "Sonny said you are a very strange person, always shrouded in a layer of mystery, making it hard to grasp. I'm curious about what kind of person you really are. I just can't understand why you would scheme against your own family." I turned to him and smiled. "You'll find out later." The project was progressing smoothly. Every time we held a meeting to report on the progress, with Wilson taking the lead, Mr. Smith had no suspicions. Mr. Smith personally visited the production factory once, and Sam was well prepared, leaving no clues for him to discover. I was well aware of the internal situation of the company, and I executed every aspect perfectly, leaving no room for error. When the company crisis arises, there will inevitably be an urgent need for funds, and the finance department will be crucial. Sam is highly skilled and successfully made the Smith family finance department manager incur huge debts. The person registered a company in the name of his uncle. Sam then used a little trick to make that company take on massive debts. I also subtly hinted to him, pretending to casually mention that he could cook the books and embezzle company funds to cover the losses. We played along together and successfully deceived him. This underhanded tactic was used by Mr. Smith before. I was just applying it in practice. Once the new product is developed, it should first undergo small-scale testing in the market, and then improvements can be made. The batch of products put into testing were legitimate products and received positive feedback from users. Mr. Smith tasted success and wanted to mass-produce it, with the Ford family being responsible for manufacturing. The formula belongs to the Smith family. The brand is also the Smith family. The Ford family is only responsible for production. This is the result of my sleight of hand in the collaboration. After the new product was mass-produced and passed quality inspection, it was fully released into the market. The face mask was launched in the market, heavily promoted with the collaboration of two major companies as a selling point. Many users came seeking it, but a month later, the incident erupted. Some users reported that after using the new brand of face mask, their faces became itchy and red, showing allergic reactions. Initially, they thought it was a problem with their skin type, but later most users reported that the face mask had issues. The public outcry erupted overnight. The toxic face mask incident resurfaced, along with the moon toxic face mask incident from over a decade ago. The flood of insults came pouring in, with many exaggerating the facts online, claiming their faces had developed sores, identical to the symptoms of face mask allergies from years ago. The events from that year were brought to light again. Some say that now the chairman of the Smith family is the former Moon Group's RD engineer. Could it be that the toxic face mask back then was planned by Mr. Smith? There are also claims that after that incident erupted, the Chandler family was devastated, with the couple committing suicide in the mountains. And their two daughters vanished overnight, while the Smith family rose to prominence, developing products very similar to those of Moon in the past. Could there be some insider information involved? The face mask allergy incident has caused a big stir, and the public opinion has gradually shifted to the inside story of Moon Group's collapse. The inspection department has intervened again and found that the face mask does indeed contain toxic substances. Mr. Smith smashed all the things he could in the office and scolded Wilson thoroughly. He threw the contract in Wilson's face. "This is the contract you made. You are trying to destroy the Smith family." Wilson furrowed his brow, took the contract in confusion, and read it from start to finish. His face grew darker as he did so. He tightly gripped the contract and turned to look at me, his eyes filled with disappointment and accusation. I sat on the sofa, combed my hair, and avoided his gaze. He turned back to look at Mr. Smith, but didn't reveal the truth. Instead said, "It's my mistake. I will take full responsibility." I looked at him in surprise, and a sense of guilt arose. After scolding people, Mr. Smith turned to look at me and asked, "What are you doing here?" I stood up and said, "The police have come, saying something about the Moon Group couple's death case having changed, and they want you to cooperate with the investigation." He was shocked and collapsed into his chair, his eyes full of fear. After being stunned for a few seconds, his face turned pale, his lips turned blue, and he clutched his heart, showing a look of pain. Dad, what's wrong with you?" Wilson rushed over to him immediately. He had red eyes and shouted at me, "Call an ambulance quickly." I hesitated for a long time before finally dialing the emergency number. Mr. Smith had a heart attack and was taken to the intensive care unit. In the hospital, Wilson sat on a chair in a disheveled manner, his head down, not knowing what he was thinking. Ms. Smith rushed in hurriedly and started crying anxiously. Wilson kept comforting her. Mr. Smith was saved, but remained in a coma. The police then took Ms. Smith away. She looked bewildered when she was handcuffed. I smiled at her and waved. "Bye-bye, Mom." She stared at me, her confused expression suddenly clearing up, and shouted, "Who on earth are you?" The Smith family is facing a crisis, and the finance department has encountered issues, causing a cash flow problem. At this moment, Sam intervened, bringing the Smith family a turning point. It's openly stated as a partnership, but in reality, the Smith family has already become his possession. Acquisition is just a matter of time. At the board meeting, he strongly recommended me as the new president of the Smith family. While Wilson was dismissed from his position due to this incident, he now has absolute power, and naturally, the board members dare not say much. Wilson has never spoken to me from beginning to end. He is blaming me. The meeting is over. I took the initiative to talk to him. The Smith family is facing a crisis, and if he leaves, the Smith family will really be finished. This is the legacy built by his parents. Mr. Smith is still in the hospital. He has a soft heart, and he certainly doesn't want to let Mr. Smith down, so he can only choose to stay. But his departure means he has to work for Sam. I fulfilled my promise to Sam, and he also kept his promise to me. It was a very pleasant collaboration. The issue with the user's allergy was resolved smoothly. The Smith family compensated a lot, and the employee who misappropriated company assets was also caught. This matter shouldn't have caused such a big uproar. It was just that Sam and I stirred things up, buying a lot of online influencers to guide public opinion. Those allergy symptoms were mild, and the influencers exaggerated the facts, creating panic and causing users to stop using the masks, thus reducing their losses. And I bribed some people to steer the public opinion towards the moon mask incident, making that event a hot topic of discussion again. I anonymously reported Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith, claiming that the deaths of the Chandler couple back then were a deliberate murder. Even if the evidence is insufficient and they evade legal punishment, the Smith family is already in my hands. They can't turn the tables now. Wilson has been avoiding me, refusing to talk to me or ask why I am doing this. Sam said, "Wilson values family the most. He is avoiding me just to prevent turning against me." I brought flowers to visit Mr. Smith, who was disoriented, his eyes slightly open, and when he saw me, he suddenly became agitated. At this time, Wilson was working and had no time to come to the hospital. I put down the flowers and talked a lot with Mr. Smith. His expression grew increasingly terrified, his eyes slowly widening, and his pupils gradually dilating. I stood up and walked closer to him, looking down at him, smiled and said, "Mr. Smith, I'm back. Are you scared?" He struggled in terror, but his body wouldn't move, and he could only make gurgling sounds from his throat. The heartbeat monitor's sound was getting faster, and I stood up satisfied and left the ward. In the afternoon, I had just left for a while when Wilson called me, asking where I was. I went to see Dad and just came out of the hospital. What did you do? His voice was a bit trembling. I didn't do anything, just talked to Dad. The hospital called and said Dad died. It seems he was scared to death. I pretended to be surprised and asked, "What did you say?" I ran back to the hospital again. And the doctor stopped me, telling me to be strong. I knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. He was fine just now. How could he die? The doctor explained a lot of technical terms, but in simple words, it was that he was scared to death. At first, he didn't even blink when he killed someone, but he was scared by just 2 sentences of mine. Ha, how ironic. Seeing the body in the morgue, Wilson finally broke down. He grabbed my shoulder and angrily said, "Teresa, what exactly do you want to do?" "Brother, you misunderstood me. I really didn't know." I looked at him innocently, and tears streamed down my face in an instant. "I trusted you so much, but you deceived me again and again. You conspired with Sam against the Smith family. I thought you were just doing it for money, but why did you have to harm Dad?" His grip was getting stronger, as if he wanted to crush my bones. I broke free from his grasp and argued desperately. "I didn't, the doctor already checked. Dad died from a worsening heart condition, not murder. If you don't believe me, you can call the police." Wilson, who has always unconditionally believed in me, is truly disappointed in me this time, but despite his disappointment, he didn't call the police. The incident of the Chandler couple's self-immolation happened nearly 20 years ago, and due to insufficient evidence, Mrs. Smith was released from custody after the investigation. She seemed completely dazed, as if she had lost her soul. Upon seeing me, she immediately showed a vicious expression, lunged at me, and grabbed my neck. "It's your fault. It's all your fault. You are not my daughter at all." I didn't fight back and almost got choked to death by her. In the end, Wilson intervened and pulled her away, saying, "Mom, Dad's death has nothing to do with Teresa." Hearing him speak for me, a deeper sense of guilt grew within me. Wilson is true to his name, like the rising sun, bringing warmth and hope to others. Although he hated me, he still helped me. Mrs. Smith tried to hurt me. The Smith family, although it belongs to me, the mansion that looked like a manor was still in Mrs. Smith's hands, and she was still living a life of luxury as a wealthy lady. I couldn't confront her yet. I had to keep her in the dark to completely crush her. Rachel, who had studied abroad, Rachel returned just in time for Mr. Smith's funeral. She knelt in front of the altar and cried with Mrs. Smith in her arms. I was like an outsider, standing on the side without any emotion. In the eyes of others, Rachel was the daughter of the Smith family, and I was just a traitor. Those little insults I heard, but I felt nothing. I really was a traitor, but I had never betrayed Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith. The only one I had always felt guilty toward was Wilson. On the day of the funeral, Mrs. Smith didn't let me go. Rachel said to me, "You already killed my father. Do you want to kill my mother too?" Wilson stood by with a cold face and said nothing. I looked at him, but he turned away and left. "Not going is fine. Let me Mr. Smith bow." "It's really embarrassing," Rachel returned, and every day she stayed with Mrs. Smith. The two of them were planning something. I had Sam watch over her for me, but it turned out she often went to the orphanage I used to stay at. Looking at the photo on the table, I felt no emotion. Sam asked curiously, "She's investigating you, why?" Since the day I stepped through the Smith family door, they never trusted me, always thinking I was an imposter. "Is she an imposter?" he asked carelessly. I smiled at him. "Guess." He stared at me for a while, then shook his head. "I really can't figure you out. Last time the Smith family had a deficit that he covered half of, leaving the other half. That half was originally reserved for him to negotiate with Wilson, as he wanted to completely separate Wilson from the Smith family and have him join in managing the Ford family group. But just as Mr. Smith died, this matter was delayed until now. I just happened to use that half of the deficit to secure that villa." Sam listened to my plan, looking confused. "I don't understand why you would scheme against your own family. Want to know the answer?" I smiled mysteriously. He nodded, "Yes." "Then help me this last time. After all, our cooperation is only beneficial to you, and once I get that villa, I'll help you obtain the shares that Wilson has." He leaned closer, bent down, and grasped my chin, looking down at me with a smile. "I'm no longer interested in those shares. What I really want to know is what secret you are hiding." I looked up at him, if you help me get what I want, you'll find out what that secret is. Okay, I agree. After we settled the deal, he told me Sonny was coming back. In the year I turned 18, he went abroad, and now I'm 25. I don't know what he's like now, he said mockingly. You know, compared to me, Sonny likes Wilson more, the older brother. If he knew what you did, he would cut you off. I lowered my eyes and let out a bitter laugh. We weren't close to begin with, so how can we cut off? You really are heartless, Sonny said. You know, after he went abroad, he lost your contact information. You didn't even send him a message. He often asked about you in front of me. It seems Wilson, if there's nothing else, I'll go now. I stood up and cut him off mid-sentence. He shrugged. Take your time. Sonny returned home that day. Wilson and Rachel went to the airport to pick him up. Meanwhile, I was in the office celebrating our successful plan with Sam. Under his manipulation, the Smith family has doubled their debt, and Mrs. Smith mortgaged the house to save the company. Sam and I sat behind the scenes. And after several twists and turns, that villa finally came under my name. As I left the Ford family building, I ran into Sonny, who was returning. I used to come here secretly, afraid of being discovered, but now that I have completed what I needed to do, there's nothing to fear anymore. Wilson looked at me, his gaze slowly turning cold, and he asked, "What are you doing here?" I smiled calmly. The Smith family and the Ford family are in a partnership now. Our two families are inseparable. Is it too much for me to drop by? Sonny, who I hadn't seen in years, had become mature and composed. He stared at me blankly, not saying a word. Sonny, brother, see, I told you sister has turned bad, but you didn't believe me. She teamed up with your brother to harm our family and even caused Dad's death. Rachel was fanning the flames from the side. Gentlemen, you came straight from the airport to the company. Are you really here just to accuse me? I glanced at Wilson. Sonny looked at me disappointedly and said, Rachel said you were close to my brother. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems I was wrong about you. I laughed. Your brother is just a bit treacherous, but other than that, he's pretty good. After saying that, I brushed past him and left. Teresa, let's talk. He hurriedly grabbed my hand and held it tightly. I suppressed the sorrow in my heart and stubbornly pulled my hand away. Sorry, there's nothing we need to talk about. I had schemed once again, and this time I had completely won, but I had lost my brother and Sonny. Seeing Smith's wife being dragged out of the villa in a rage, my hatred finally faded. This hatred fading, she should appear. Mrs. Smith was schemed against, and Wilson had no way to vent his anger on me. So he went to find Sam. Sam is a pervert, and the more Wilson hates him, the more he wants to conquer him. For example, right now, he might be enjoying the feeling of being hit by Wilson. Rachel heard that I kicked her mom out and rushed over to question me, and Sonny came too. But what good is questioning? This is now my territory. Teresa, she knew it was too late for everything and begged me, saying, she is your mother too. Sister, don't you have a heart? I sat on the sofa, crossed my legs, and said coldly, if Mrs. Smith kneels down and begs me, perhaps I might show some mercy and give her some alimony. Rachel looked at Sonny, then suddenly knelt in front of me. Sister, I beg you for my mom, please don't drive her away. Sonny asked me in disbelief. Teresa, how did you become like this? I had no words to respond to his question. She lifted Rachel's chin and mocked. My dear sister, you can't even save yourself now, yet you're thinking of helping others to plead with me. How ridiculous, sister, how did you become so cruel? She looked at me pitifully. I said with a dark expression, I am this cruel. Rachel, I'm giving you two options. First, behave and abandon Mrs. Smith. I will not hold it against you and let you continue as the Smith family's heiress. Second, take your adoptive mother and get out of my house. Teresa, Sonny glared at me, her fists clenched tightly. I ignored him and continued to pressure Rachel. So, what will it be? A life of luxury? Or your dear adoptive mother? She lowered her head in silence, and after a while, she looked up at me with a sinister expression and said smugly, Sister, actually there's a third option. What? I asked her, puzzled. She took off the mask of the innocent little bunny and said arrogantly, Teresa, I didn't want to expose you, but you are just too vicious. For the sake of mom and brother, I have no choice but to do this. It turned out her trump card was my identity. She had investigated for a long time, saying that the deceased Mia was the true Smith family heiress. while I was an imposter who took Mia's identity and robbed her of her life. I even suspect that Mia was killed by you. You went to any lengths to eliminate her in order to take her place. The hair that your brother took for the paternity test actually belongs to Mia, right? She confidently stated her guess. Speculation is always just speculation, without evidence to support it. It can only be regarded as nonsense. Sunny was stunned to hear this and immediately called Wilson to come over. Wilson and Sam both arrived. Sam's elegant suit was torn, his face was bruised, and his hair was messy, showing he had been badly beaten. By contrast, Wilson was completely unharmed. Rachel's reasoning was impressive, almost flawless, and Mia's personality was indeed just like a real Smith family heiress. Teresa, Wilson said with tears in his eyes, his voice trembling, Teresa. Sam said, looking at me with excitement. Rachel called the police, and before they arrived, I said nothing. I was taken away, and in front of the four of them, I had my blood drawn for a paternity test. When I left the detention center, Wilson and Sunny were waiting outside for me. I squinted and raised my hand to shield my eyes from the sun. It turns out that the sunlight on my skin feels so warm, but I am snow, and snow meeting the sun is destined to melt. Wilson looked at me, trembling lips, tears streaming down his face. He rushed over and hugged me, and I could smell the lingering scent of alcohol on him. Teresa, what's wrong with you? Can you tell your brother? His voice was hoarse and trembling as he held me tightly. I'm sorry, brother shouldn't have doubted you. I looked around. Where is Mrs. Smith? She, Wilson stammered and couldn't say more. I only found out when I got home that she had gone mad. The moment she saw the identification results, she went crazy. The blood flowing in me is indeed hers. Rachel knelt on the ground, pleading Wilson not to drive her away, saying that Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith had instructed her to threaten me and reveal everything about my investigation. I looked at him and said nothing. This time, he finally stood by my side, giving up on Rachel. Brother, I like you, you've always known, right? I beg you, don't drive me away. I won't compete with my sister anymore, please. Rachel got up and hugged him, crying very sadly. Wilson didn't expect Rachel to have unusual feelings for him. He was almost on the verge of collapse, but no matter how pitiful she was, this time Wilson didn't soften his heart and let her leave the Smith family. She has a high education and won't starve. Before leaving for abroad, I left a letter for Wilson. Bro, I'm sorry. Forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I can't tell you in person what happened to me. Now I have to go to the hospital. If I succeed, I'll return Rachel to you. Actually, I have dissociative identity disorder. My current name is Snow, the second personality of Rachel. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? I also find it hard to believe, because having split personalities seems like something that only happens in movies, right? Where should I start? I thought a lot, so I'll start with the toxic mask incident at Moon Group. After the toxic mask incident broke out, Moon Group faced a major crisis. And Chandler had no choice but to sell his property to deal with the crisis. After Moon went bankrupt, the users' abuse and attacks made it impossible for them to live in the city, so he had to move to a mountain villa with his wife and twin daughters. Later, his friend found out that the toxic mask incident was the work of the company's research and development engineer, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith embezzled the company's money, stole confidential documents and formulas. He was afraid Chandler would hold him accountable, so he wanted to ruin Moon. While producing the masks, he tampered with them, causing users' skin to ulcerate. Knowing the truth, Chandler called Mr. Smith to confront him. Just then, Mr. Smith was on a trip with his wife and daughters, so he changed his plans and came to the mountain villa to explain personally. Mr. Smith and his wife knelt down and begged Chandler to let them go, but Chandler insisted on calling the police. Mr. Smith then put a fruit knife to his own neck and threatened to commit suicide. During the argument, the fruit knife stabbed into Chandler's body. Afraid of the incident being exposed, he then went on to kill Chandler's wife as well. They killed someone, then set fire to the villa, creating the illusion that they had committed suicide together. All of this was seen by Rachel. She couldn't speak or shout, just watching her parents commit murder. She ran out while they were dealing with the body. When Snow and Lena returned from playing, Rachel stopped them. It was her first time speaking, and she invited them to play hide and seek with her. She was afraid that Mr. Smith and his wife would harm the sisters, so she hid them in Mr. Smith's car trunk. When she returned, a large fire had already broken out, and she was shocked. screaming. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith were startled to see her and quickly bundled her into the car, leaving the scene. At night, the car drove along a deserted winding road. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith were afraid that Rachel would reveal their crime, so they planned to kill her, just as they were plotting how to kill someone. A large truck came driving by. The truck driver slammed on the brakes. But it was too late, and the two vehicles collided. Mr. Smith and his wife abandoned the vehicle and ran away, locking the doors and leaving Rachel behind. The fuel tank on the truck was leaking and about to explode. In the trunk, Lena crawled to the front, crying for help. The truck driver stumbled out of the vehicle and rescued Rachel and Lena. The unconscious Snow was left there forever. The driver, injured and holding two children, ran a long way, blood streaming from his body, and finally collapsed at the entrance of a village. The two of them were frightened and ran off in a confused direction. After dawn, the townspeople found them by the roadside, thinking they were orphans, and sent them to an orphanage. Lena was traumatized, suffered a head injury that caused a blood clot pressing on her nerves, and became mentally impaired. Rachel witnessed the murder of her parents. Her condition worsened, and she became even more withdrawn and self-destructive. Lena is Mia. There was a perverted teacher at the orphanage who often abused us. Mia was beaten to the point of incontinence, suffering immensely. Sometimes she was lucid, sometimes she was confused. When she was clear-headed, she would cry out for her sister, saying that if her sister were there, she would protect them. Living in such an environment for a long time would drive even the most normal person insane. At the age of 8, I appeared for the first time. Mia wants a sister, and I am her sister, Snow. At first, I appeared infrequently, only when Rachel was hurt or Mia was being abused. But later, Rachel chose to leave forever to escape this cruel world and to protect Mia. At the age of 10, I completely took control of the body. I protected Mia, nurturing her as she grew up. I thought that when we grew up, we could leave here and seek revenge on Mr. Smith and his wife. But her life was forever frozen at the age of 15. That car accident caused her to have a brain hemorrhage. And later she was abused, causing the blood clots to accumulate and press on her nerves, taking her life away. I am not the Snow who was burned to death, but I am the Mia who endured all suffering for Snow. Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith never believed I was their daughter because Rachel was tied to the car by them and died in that accident. My presence made them feel threatened, so they installed cameras in my room, had the nanny monitor me, and had Rachel test me. They were afraid I had leverage over them, so they were always on guard against me, testing me. To take revenge for Mia, I lay low for 10 years. From the time I returned home at 15 until I avenged her at 25, I spent every day in nightmares. For a full 10 years, I was in unbearable pain. Now between us, there are no more secrets. Brother, thank you for your trust and care over the past 10 years. I have avenged Mia, and now I should return your sister to you. Rachel is very pitiful. She was never loved as a child and was abandoned by her biological parents. If she can come back, you must love her well and help her out of the shadows. Please tell Sonny I'm sorry, and thank him. I let him down and betrayed his trust. That bouquet of sunflowers was originally meant for you, but unfortunately, you arrived late, and he took it away. I made another bouquet, also sunflowers. This time, the sunflowers are specially made for him. Brother, please help me deliver it to him. Oh, I forgot to mention, Sam is a shrewd businessman, but he's not a bad person. You might consider working with him. The Smith family group is very corrupt. You are a clean person and should not be tainted. Alright, I've said enough. It's time for me to stop writing. Brother, don't hold a grudge against me. Don't worry about me, knowing the truth. Wilson made a difficult decision to hand over the Smith family group established by his parents to Sam, which was stolen by his parents. Containing the buried remains of an innocent family of 4, he could no longer face staying there, leaving behind the mentally unstable Mrs. Smith. He set off on a journey to find Teresa, vowing never to abandon his sister, no matter what the future held. Sonny held the newly picked sunflower. Lost in thought for a long time, he picked up the black sunflower in the middle and saw the words on it, the silent and enduring love. Snow. He closed his eyes in reverence, brought the sunflower to his lips, and shed tears. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.